Which one is it?
Ford Brothers. Les frères Ford.
Les frères Ford, c'est quoi?
I don't know if I
Les
know.
frères Ford, les deux réalisateurs, film britannique de Ford Brothers.
We're not talking Shaun of the Dead, right?
No.
Because you're British, I think Shaun of the Dead, one of the best movies ever made, right?
This movie is located in Africa.
No, I haven't. You know, look, here's the problem. I was saying this to this young man before. When I started writing the Zombie Survival Guide 10 years ago, there was not a lot of zombie stuff out there. So you could know everything. It was kind of like being a medical doctor in 1900, where there was this much medical knowledge, so you could know everything. Now, zombies are everywhere. So the problem is there's so many movies. There's this British TV show, I think, a zombie TV show. I mean, there's just the movies, the comic books, the books, the video games. You cannot keep track of it all. If I did that, if I got up every morning and said, I'm just going to see what's out there, I would never get any work done. So I have not seen that one. I'm sure it's quite nice, and I'm sure there's plenty of zombies in it. And if it's British, it's probably pretty dark. And I'm not making fun of your traditional blood enemies. I used to live in England. I almost married an English girl. Like I said, Shaun of the Dead, one of the best zombie movies. Because zombie movies should have, I think, social commentary. What I mean is they should say something about who we are as a society.
Oh, yeah.
And George Romero does that in all his work. When he's not just talking about zombies, he's talking about us. And so, therefore, Shaun of the Dead was just like that. It talked about that generation of English people, where they were at that point. So that's what, you know, God, I love English. I haven't listened to the Smiths. Anyway.
In America, you have a lot of tradition about survivalism and survivalists. Did you meet some of them?
Did I meet one of them? I am one of them.
No.
Oh, no, see, no, let us draw the cultural line in America. This is for those who have never been to my country. Here is a line. And on one side are people who prepare for natural disasters. And that's lots of us. I'm one of them. I live in Los Angeles. We have earthquakes. We have to have an earthquake kit. We just do. We have to have an earthquake plan. You know, where would we go? What would we do? We have to have practice drills in case there's an earthquake. And people do that all over my country. We have extreme weather. We have New Orleans. People prepare for hurricanes, Florida. And after 9/11, we prepare for a terrorist attack. What would we do? That's most of us. And we all prepare, but we hope, please don't let it happen. Then there's another group of people who really want it to happen. Because they are losers. And they cannot adapt to society. They don't fit in. So they want society to implode and be destroyed. And they're ready. And they're just, yeah! They're very, very excited. And there's not a lot of them. Those people, very, very small, but they are loud, so they get a lot of press. And no, I do not associate with those people. Those people probably also don't like Jews, so it's another reason I don't. So yeah, anyone else?
Qu'est-ce que vous écriviez avant de faire les romans zombies qui sont devenus très connus?
Oh, before writing the zombie books? Well, I read Harlem Hellfighters before the zombie books. I've been writing since I was 12. But I didn't think I was any good. So I write and put it in the drawer, lock it up. I did not think Zombie Survival Guide would be published too. I wrote it, stuck it in a drawer. So I like to write science fiction. I like to write fantasy. I like to write about things that I can't do in real life, but still have lessons about real life, things that I think about. So that's what I've always been writing about, that kind of stuff.
Are you a role-playing game player?
Role-playing? You mean like Dungeons and Dragons?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because
And I can say that, because I got a wife. I got a girl. And I play Dungeons. And I don't have time now because I have a child, so I don't have time. I did before my son was born. Oh, I used to play Dungeons and Dragons online. And I had a character. He was a black guy, and his name was Eddie Murphy. My guy. Very proud of that.
D'après vous, d'où vient cet effet de zombification des films depuis quelques années?
I think zombies are popular now because we are living in times of anxiety. We have many global problems, big problems. Disease, economic, terrorist, war, a lot of big problems. And I think a lot of people are thinking about the apocalypse. I think a lot of people wonder. But it is too real to really think about the apocalypse. We are fascinated, but we are also scared. But zombies make the apocalypse safe because they're not real. Everything that you see in a zombie movie, you would see probably in a real plague or a real war. But because it is zombies, it's fake. So you can watch it and you can go, it's never happened. Have you heard of a book, Cormac McCarthy, The Road? Yeah, The Road. I mean, have you read it?
Yes.
Yes, I haven't. And I won't. Because it's too real. I'm a father, I have a little boy. I can't read The Road, I'll never sleep. Now, if Cormac McCarthy came out with a new edition of The Road and wrote an introduction, and it said, this book happened because of a zombie plague. Oh, I'd read it in a heartbeat. Yeah. The Road. Yeah. Because it would not be real. And I think that is why zombies are popular. We can explore the apocalypse, but it allows us to have a psychological wall of safety. Because the reason, the start of that apocalypse is fictional. That's why I think. I could be wrong. Yeah.
Have you read One Bodies?
Oh, you mean the zombie love story?
Yeah. Do you think a zombie can fall in love?
Do I think I don't know. Do you think Ebola can fall in love? Because that's pretty much how I think about it. No, I mean, look, I don't think there's anything wrong with telling a zombie love story. I think it's a zombies are popular, so everybody should have something. But for me, it does nothing, because for me, the zombies have to be inhuman, and they have to be dangerous. That's what scares me about them. It would literally be like if I fell in love with the herpes virus, and the herpes virus just became human, because of love. No, because Warm Bodies they call it Romeo and Juliet or Twilight, but which Twilight scares me, not because of the vampires, it scares me because of the message it's giving to young girls. No, it's really The Princess and the Frog. It's really, there's a frog and you kiss it, oh, it's a handsome prince. In my story, the frog would eat her.
Why Zach?
Zach? Oh, it's just a term that you make up for your enemy. It's like, Fritz, or Ivan, or Joe. That's just what you would call them, so they just call him Zach. Why they called him Zeke in the movie, I don't know. But it made them more money, so yay for Zeke. Anyone else? Yes, miss.
Sorry.
Yes.
Do you have an explanation for the first zombie in your universe?
Do I have an explanation? Oh, Patient Zero?
Yeah.
Oh, ask the Chinese. But there's a reason I did that. We talked before about research, making everything real. I based that on a real virus, SARS. Remember SARS?
Yeah.
Because when I was inventing a zombie plague, I wanted it to be about the start of the plague. And I think sometimes zombie stories don't do that. I think too often we start when the plague has already happened. But I wanted to actually write about how the plague happened, and so I needed to be logical and make sense. So what did I need? I needed a country with a large population. I couldn't do Africa because there's not enough people. It's too dispersed. So I needed that. I needed a country that had a very good infrastructure for transport, so the virus could spread. Good roads, good railways. So you couldn't say do Indonesia because they're islands. And this is the most important thing. I needed a government that could censor the press. Because if you did it, if the zombie virus started in, say, India has a free press. So the word would get out, and maybe we could stop it. You needed a country that would censor the press and let the virus spread. And that's exactly what happened in China. The virus started, SARS, in China, and the World Health Organization said, hey, Chinese, we need to get in there and study it. And the Chinese said, no, there's no virus. No. And we said, no, the people, they're getting sick. And the Chinese said, no, I don't know what you're talking about. Everything's fine. No problem. And then suddenly people in Toronto, Canada were getting SARS because people from China were getting on planes with the SARS and taking it across the planet. And I thought, that is how the virus is going to spread. Because my defense for criticism, when people say to me, oh, that would never happen, for anything in my books, I always say, it already has. Anyone else?
Why did you call it the Solanum?
Oh, no, that was in my book. That was just an early 19th century explanation for nightshade, because in Zombie Survival Guide, that's where it came from. Was the first person who coined it. That doesn't mean that's what we should all call it. That was just the early name for it from a scientist who was trying to figure it out. And this was a time in early science. You know, this was a time also before people knew what viruses were. They called it contagious living fluid. They had no idea. Science was very new back then. You know, well, back then science was like this. That was it. And some parts of this planet it still is. Anyone else? Yeah.
Quel sera votre arme préférée? Celle que vous recommandez, celle que vous êtes sûr?
Oh, my favorite weapon? A lightsaber? Do you mean real weapon? Or just, I mean favorite? Because favorite, I'm getting in the TARDIS and getting out of here. And the TARDIS is big enough I can take my whole family, so, and you know, half the country. So, you know, I think, I like to think practical. I like to think logical, because I know in America, we love our guns, you know, but guns need bullets. And it is really, really hard to make bullets. It is really hard. Even in some science fiction movies, you have people making bullets. Bullshit. And this is a true story, this is why I believe this, during our Civil War, the North had all the factories. The South did not. The North invented the modern rifles, the kind, you know, rifles used to be gunpowder, that's how everyone fought. Then the North came up with guns where you could put bullets in, bang, bang. And then sometimes in battles, the South would capture these rifles, but they couldn't make the bullets. They did not have the factories. You need machinery. You need the ability to smelt iron and copper and tin. It is a very complicated process to make bullets. So if you ever see some apocalyptic story where somebody's in his workshop by himself making a bullet, bullshit. You need society. So guns are fine in the very beginning, but eventually you're going to need something that doesn't need to be reloaded. So you would need something like a sword or a hammer. But the truth is, I don't know who is. Anybody here ever studied martial arts at all? I studied a little bit of it in college, and the first rule of martial arts is don't get in a fight. Because, you know, in movies it's all cool, and, you know, if somebody bumps another guy, hey, wah! But a true person who studies martial arts, if someone bumps into them or insults them, they go, okay. That's how you deal with a zombie plague. You don't engage. You survive. I've always said that if there is a metaphor animal for the zombie plague that would survive, it's not the tiger, it's the cockroach. Because the cockroach knows when to get the hell out of the way. Anyone else?
I understand that the zombies can be a specific feature about fear and stress. But why did you start to write about it?
Why did I write about it? Because I thought about it. has anyone here ever heard me, read an interview with me, hear the story of why I got into zombies? No one knows the story? Because I don't want to repeat myself. It started with a real childhood fear. All right, I'll tell you guys again. I tell a story a lot. When I was a young man, I was about 12 or 13, and I started to have special new feelings.
Quelle est la question que vous rêviez qu'on vous pose, qu'on vous a jamais posée?
Oh, God, I've never thought about that. That's interesting. Once in a while, it would be really great if my son asked me, "How do you feel, Dad?" That would be nice. Because I'm a parent, so it's all about him. I mean, that's just the way it has to be. I don't know. That's that would be a really good question. I would have to think about that, because usually I get asked. I must say the questions I've gotten here are a little different than usually the questions I sort of get asked, but wow, no, that's a good one.